Welcome back to another explainer. Look, if you've ever stared down a massive, complex medical chart and just felt completely overwhelmed by that dense, text-heavy maze of ICD-10-CM guidelines, well, you are in the exact right place today. We're going to take those dense coding rules and translate them into crystal-clear, visual formulas. By leaning on some really structured logic, we're going to strip away all that confusion and hand you the exact step-by-step formulas you need. So, let's dive right in.
Today's agenda is short but heavy-hitting. We are tackling 3 boss-level scenarios. First, obstetric diabetes coding. Second, coding pump malfunctions. And third, secondary diabetes rules.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, obstetric diabetes coding.
Okay, so say you have a pregnant patient with pre-existing diabetes. The sequencing rule here, it is absolute. You must always assign a code from category O24 first. That category is your go-to for diabetes mellitus in pregnancy, childbirth, and the puerperium. Only after you've locked in that primary code do you follow it up with your specific Chapter 4 E code. You know, the E08 through E13 series. The why behind this is pretty straightforward. Diabetes is a massive complicating factor in pregnancy, meaning that obstetric code literally has to take priority to tell the true clinical story.
The O24 category actually features a super strict hierarchy. As you can see, it breaks down by pre-existing type 1, pre-existing type 2, unspecified, and so on. It even drills all the way down to whether the encounter is happening during pregnancy, childbirth, or the puerperium phase. It's like a roadmap showing you exactly what has to take priority as your principal diagnosis before you even think about touching the standard diabetes codes.
Now let's shift gears to gestational diabetes. Usually this pops up in the second and third trimesters for patients who weren't actually diabetic before they got pregnant. If their condition is managed by both diet and a medication, the coding hierarchy dictates that the medication wins every single time. So if they use diet plus insulin, you're only going to use the code for insulin-controlled. If they manage it with diet and oral hypoglycemic drugs, you only code controlled by oral hypoglycemic drugs. Doing it this way keeps the chart clean, accurate, and highly specific.
And here is an absolutely crucial point you'll want to remember. Never, and I mean never, assign Z79 long-term use codes, like Z79.4 for insulin or Z79.84 for oral drugs, alongside gestational diabetes codes from subcategory O24.4. Why? Because the control method is actually already baked right into those O24.4 codes. Oh, and one more thing. Abnormal glucose tolerance in pregnancy is not the same thing as gestational diabetes. It actually gets its very own distinct category, which is O99.81.
So that brings us to a highly specific scenario that frequently trips up even veteran coders: device malfunctions. I mean, think about the chain of events here. How exactly are we supposed to sequence an underdose when a mechanical insulin pump just flat out fails?
Let's break down exactly how to handle that in Section 2, Coding Pump Malfunctions. For an underdose caused by a pump failure, you've got a really strict 3-step sequence. Step 1, your principal, first listed code must be the mechanical complication, which is T85.6-. Step 2, you immediately follow that up with the underdosing code T38.3X6-, which specifies the drug issue. Finally, Step 3, you add your diabetes manifestation codes and any associated complications. It perfectly mirrors real life, right? The machine broke, which caused the dosing issue, which then impacted the patient's diabetes.
But what if it's an overdose from that exact same pump malfunction? Well, the sequence is anchored exactly the same way at the very top, but you just swap out the second step. Step 1 is still your mechanical complication, T85.6-, but Step 2 flips to T38.3X1-, which is the code for accidental poisoning by insulin and oral hypoglycemic drugs. And then Step 3 rounds it all out again with your diabetes manifestation codes.
When you look at them side by side, it's super clear how that T85.6- root cause really anchors both scenarios. It's just the secondary code where the path diverges, T38.3X6 for an underdose, and T38.3X1 for an overdose. Like we said, the machine breaks first, then the dosing goes wrong.
Moving right along to our final section, Section 3, Secondary Diabetes Rules. We'll be covering post-pancreatectomy and diabetic CKD here.
So the pancreas is a pretty incredible organ. It is quite literally the sole source of insulin for our bodies, releasing it directly from beta cells to keep our blood sugar in check. Because it's the exclusive factory for this vital hormone, if it gets surgically removed, whether in whole or just in part, it dictates a very specific, unforgiving coding hierarchy to accurately capture the resulting type 3C or secondary diabetes.
Post-pancreatectomy coding demands a strict 3-code package to paint the complete clinical picture. First up is E89.1 for post-procedural hypoinsulinemia, which explicitly states the surgery caused the lack of insulin. Second is the E13 point category for the secondary diabetes itself, serving as your primary clinical diagnosis. And third, you have to include Z90.41 to show the acquired absence of the pancreas. Those three have to work together. And hey, while we're talking strict combinations, remember diabetic CKD works similarly? You need E11.22 as your primary code, immediately followed by a secondary stage code from category N18 point to finish the story.
If you can trust the logic and really master these strict sequencing formulas, I promise you can confidently tackle absolutely any complex chart that comes across your desk. Today we've seen how obstetric priority, pump malfunction timelines, post-surgical reality, and kidney complications all demand very precise coding steps. So I'll leave you with this. What rule are you going to apply to your next chart?
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really hope this explainer made these complex guidelines crystal clear for you. Please like, share, and subscribe to Decode Healthcare with Harshal. Keep learning, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next one.